Media, and this time we're going to show you all the cameras and stuff behind the scenes here. So it should be a little bit of fun, I'm thinking. Looks like Angela already had her camera moved, so she's a little off. I like the wall behind you there, though. Pull it just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Now she's in the middle of the frame. But again,
I didn't touch it.
No, it just happened. Miracles. I'm not blaming you, a little bit, but probably it was Melissa's fault. Again, this is the behind the scenes deal here at a radio station when we do all things video, and of course Melissa Jacobs, she takes care of business with her videos after the fact, and she could do it for you too. But we'll talk about that during the actual show. It's time to make radio. So if you would just stand by, I'm going to push this button here. I'm going to shut up, and then here we go.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo!
My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Yay! I am your host, Angela Smerito, and in studio with me we have our producer, Melissa Fox.
Oh, it's my turn. Sorry. Busy over here doing stuff.
Up next we have Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Hello, hello.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that one.
That's the intern that got flats in the parking lot. He brought some friends just in case Melissa. Yeah.
I do. I have such a pretty crew right now. I love it. Melissa is our co-host, and she's also our videographer. And if you go to baadradio.com, you can see all the previous episodes of BaaD Radio on there. She does a beautiful job.
Thank you.
And then if you go to strikingbrand.com, you get to see all of her other work because she is a videographer, but she is also a photographer. We have a very special guest today. Please welcome Crystal Morris, founder and CEO of Mindful Media Group.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, Crystal flashed an intern in a parking lot earlier.
I have no idea what you're talking about. That never happened.
She's denying immediately.
She said she had a Marilyn Monroe moment
That
with the wind blowing. Oh, you made his day, girl. So Mindful Media Group happens to be the agency that I work for, so we're going to talk a lot about that fun stuff today. Mm-hmm. But first, this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Frogger's Bar and Grill. Looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones? Then you're looking for Frogger's. With 4 great locations, there is bound to be one near you. Come with friends or bring the family for some food and fun. Don't miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's. Hoppin' with food and fun. I'm going to get some Frogger's soon. Mm-hmm. Check them out. All right, so you want to do the live for the networking news?
All right, so Symphonic CBD is a branch of Live Your Best Life, both advocates of Green Compass Global. Green Compass products are USDA organic, lab tested, non-GMO, made in the United States, and cruelty-free. We need like bullet points. Mm-hmm. check. Good. CBD products are key in making calmness a habit. They also have CBD for our fur babies. Mm-hmm. To get more information on the benefits of CBD, visit symphonic-cbd.com. That's symphonic-cbd.com.
Yep, and so Anna's getting her first sales through BNI, so she's very excited for that. So I told her once she starts getting one, then they're going to just like start taking off.
Start flowing in,
yep. So super proud of that kid. So I wanted to talk with networking news today since we have Crystal in-house with us today about all the different types of programs that you can do when you go to a marketing agency. Now, really what it was about is like there's so many different types of campaigns. And so Crystal and I were talking about it before we started. And what are some of the ones that we were talking about?
Branding is the easiest one that people typically think about, right? It's like the McDonald's, the Burger King, the Zephyr Hills, all those brand names that you know and love. And then things like education. So I know on the show you've talked a lot about some of the laws that have taken effect lately. So education in terms of consumers to let them know about those things that are happening and going on. You can also do things like a direct response style campaign, which has a very specific call to action, right? So we're saying to the consumer, pick up the phone and call this number right now, or go to the website and click to buy, or use this coupon or visit our store. So there is a very specific call to action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I think that like when a company first starts, even when it's like the beginning stages, do you still think a branding campaign is how they should start?
I think there is value to a brand, brand name, brand building, but then it just depends on what the company is. If you're selling like I don't know, a widget, right? Whatever product, you need to get sales so you can continue to grow your brand.
Right.
So there is this balance. It's not a one or the other. Sometimes it's like yes and.
I guess it really depends on a budget, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Budget is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So when you started Striking Brand, what did you do initially you went straight the networking channel?
Yeah, well, my background is in graphic design, so I was fortunate enough to be able to come up with the logo and all of that fun stuff for the branding side, and then I jumped in with BNI. So then just being around people, my chapter like launched my whole business.
Yeah.
Like I was almost kind of like learning on the job.
Well,
type
you
thing.
also work it as well, so it's not like you don't just rely on your chapter
Oh yeah,
members. I mean,
No,
you
of
go to
course.
other chapters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like just as starting out, because we were talking about like starting the
Yeah.
business, that helped tremendously. So all my first like clients of my business were my chapter members, and then you grow, and then you have the clients that are like repeat clients and tell another person and all that fun stuff.
Right.
Well,
So-
BNI is almost like direct response, right? Like you go and you
Right.
make a very specific ask of
Right.
your other members of the group, right?
Yeah.
So it is its own form of marketing, of advertising.
Oh, I think so, definitely. And that's where, because Crystal and I remember Eduardo, who was
Oh,
on
yeah.
the show.
Right.
Yeah, we've been working with him, and we've actually advised him to go back to the basics, and because he jumped right into the advertising, like full, But then he didn't really even have a full concept of his package doesn't even have a name yet.
Okay.
It's like okay, I'm a master at this, and I'm doing this. So, but you know what I mean? He hasn't established that core base yet. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So, I think that, like I said, for him, he jumped right into. We had a gentleman on here that talked about the 3 R's. Remember, Nasser. I want to call him Nasser.
Nasser, you're right.
Right, but he talked about reputation first. Your website.
Oh,
So
Nasir.
Do you, Nasir? Do
There
you
we
do that a lot? Where you like when I bring a client to you, the first thing you do is go to the website, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The first thing, I mean, especially if we're driving to a website, but everybody has the internet in their pocket,
Yeah.
right? Like in your hand. And so what's the first thing you do? You Google
Google
them,
it.
right? Like
Always.
instantly. And so that is your first interaction with a brand typically, or a product or a service. And if you go to their website and you see that it's like, they don't know how to describe it, and then you can't find the pricing, and
Right.
it doesn't make sense, and it's kind of clunky, and it doesn't load right. That's your first interaction with a brand, and if it's not a good interaction, then you lost a client.
What about Google Your Business? That Google My Business page, like right when you Google them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so businesses that are service-based need a really good Google My Business setup, and reviews are everything. I have a client in South Florida. They do fishing charters, deep sea fishing charters, and his Google My Business reviews are so important because it's such a competitive space, right? And so if, there's 3 other charters in the same marina leaving from the same exact place,
Oh wow.
what's the difference? Like what's going to make somebody pay the extra $50 to go with, one captain versus another? And a lot of the time it's the pictures and the reviews that people really, they gravitate towards, because they're like, oh, look at all these pictures with these people, and like 500 5-star reviews can't be wrong.
Right. Do you have any advice for if somebody has a bad review left on their Google? Do you have any advice as the business owner? What do you do?
Always respond. Always respond. You can't let the internet take hold of it and let it go, right? Because
But you can't have it taken down.
it depends. It depends on what it is, right? So it's like if you look at the Better Business Bureau, it's like pretty standard for them to say, okay, well, here's this review, here's what's going on. And their whole premise is to let the business go back and respond and say like, okay, here's what happened. Apologize if necessary, or like explain the situation, and here's how we're going to rectify it, right?
Well, I left a bad review for this restaurant that I got food poisoning with in Tallahassee, and they didn't say nothing back.
Oh,
Oh no! Did they have other bad reviews too?
that said the same thing.
Don't
Right.
know. I don't know, but they did refund my money So I got my $18 back, but it certainly didn't help me that day that I was sitting in the sun with food poisoning at a baseball game.
No.
Oh gosh. in the
Yeah,
sun,
that's the only time.
Worst.
That's the only time I've ever left a 1-star review. It's just I couldn't help it. It was miserable. So we only have a few seconds left, like 30 seconds. But on the educational, and we can pick this up because we're going to come back. But I do want to talk about the educational part of stuff.
Yeah.
So all right, you guys, stay tuned because when we get back, we're going to talk more with Crystal Morris, founder and CEO of Mindful Media Group. So definitely stay tuned.
You're listening to BaaD Radio, Sundays from 11 until 1 p.m. right here on News Radio WFLA, Orlando.
I already know the answer too.
That's
so,
fine.
Like I said, you might be like, Angela, we talk about this all the time.
No, it's all right. I get it.
Okay, looking good.
Just like she's gonna think I've like gone completely blank.
Yeah.
So I want to get as many clips or reels
Okay.
out of this. This is really, like I said, I want to do content for our Facebook
Yeah.
page for Mindful Media Group
Do
and
it.
stuff that we can put on the website and things like that. So,
Okay. Do you want to give me a number? Do you want me just to do as many subject changes as happen?
I'll have to look. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I always forget what we talk about until.
I freaking know. I know. Me too. Me too.
So.
Mm.
Right.
So, okay.
My arm's turning purple yet?
Yeah, I'm in here. Hi. She keeps, hi.
I see you.
Okay, good. Good.
My skin turns purple when I'm cold.
Not yet.
Purple.
I know. I'm like sitting on my fingers right now. Like,
That sounds a little
No,
bit
sorry.
weird, but we're going to let it go. All right. Stand by. We're coming back with a vengeance. I'm pretty sure it's true.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. It is hot, hot, hot out there, and so best to plan something inside. But first, a trip to Premier Couple Superstore. They have the best selection of lingerie, shoes, toys, games, love oils, clubwear, and so much more. You won't pay those high prices because you're going to go directly to the source. 5009 South OBT, or shop online at premiercouples.net, because a couple that plays together stays together. Getting used to that. Like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we are here and we're talking with Crystal Morris, founder and CEO of Mindful Media Group, which is the media agency that I work for. Now, I've talked about it quite a lot. Before break, we talked a little bit about some of the different campaigns, and I just want to talk briefly about an educational type campaign. So, in your experience, I mean, where would somebody be in their marketing when they're like, okay, an educational piece is what we need to direct it towards?
So if you, for example, have a product or service that's a little more difficult to explain, right? It's not like as clear cut as like, I have this phone, come buy this phone, right? Like I have this app that goes on your phone that does this cool thing, right? That's when you need education, because people don't know that they need your product until you explain what it is. And they're like, oh yeah, I need that, right?
So how hard is it though to get somebody to click through? You know what I mean? Because like we're always just scroll. So when you put a campaign together and it's educational, so we have to come up with something that's strong enough to get that person to stop, right?
Right. So it's interesting because Facebook calls it thumb stopping creative, right?
Okay.
So like what is going to make something thumb stopping? Crazy fact is that the average person scrolls the entire length of the Empire State Building every day on social media. So it's like, think about like all of like the arthritis and carpal tunnel happening in people's thumbs, right?
It used to be from waiting on tables, but now it's from
No,
that
it's the
thing.
scroll, right? So you have to break through the clutter enough that people are going to stop their monotonous scroll and either listen or watch or read whatever information you have there. So part of it is making sure that you are targeting your audience really, really tightly. Targeting these days is really scary because you can get very, very specific. So it's like you want a mom who's 37 years old, who drives a minivan, who has 2 dogs and 2 kids, and they play soccer and they eat at Frogger's on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Right? Like we can target that person. right? So a lot of it has to do with making sure that you're setting up yourself for success before you actually start putting media dollars behind anything.
Right. And that this is kind of why I really wanted Chris to come here is like to talk about the importance of using a media agency as opposed to just going out there and winging it.
Right.
Because I think that that's what happens is a lot of businesses wing it.
Yeah.
They have, a kid's friend who is like, I can do Facebook paid ads. And then they go in there and they start doing that without any idea. And then next thing you know, they're 10 out of $10,000 and haven't got hardly anything to show for it. How often do you come across something like that?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every single day. It's like, oh, so-and-so's son, like their cousin or brother or my neighbor's nephew, it's like, oh,
Right.
yeah, I could do that. And people are like, oh, well, they're young. They're 23 years old. They probably know how to
They're
do
tech savvy.
Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and, all of those, or, Twitter, TikTok, all of those things. But it's more than just like, hey, I can click the buttons, because honestly, anybody can click the buttons. It's not hard. The real strategy behind it is what is necessary to be successful in your advertising campaign.
How important is it to narrow down like that? Because I think a lot of people would say like, oh, well, I want this to reach all of human beings that are in Florida, from 9 to like 99. So how important is that to like, because it kind of seems counterintuitive that you wouldn't want to like send your advertising out to everyone.
Right. So it's a matter of budget, to be honest with you.
And
right?
also, who's the more likely candidate to buy?
Right.
You might be able to sell this product to everybody, but who are the people that are most likely going to pick up the phone? Who are the people? Is it the moms? If it's like, what's something that everybody has? Maybe it's a phone, right?
Yeah.
But like, who usually makes the decisions on purchasing a phone for the kids?
Well,
So, right?
I mean, I think it's something like 85% of household purchasing decisions are either made or influenced by a woman in the household. So,
hell yeah,
right? A lot of the time it is like, people are like, oh, it's like, I want to get the male decision maker. And you're like, I don't know about that. So.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that that's a lot of thing too. Another reason to use an agency is because of understanding the trends in the markets and who's likely to be doing the purchasing, and it all varies. Like, but I mean, yeah, I think that means that's very important when it comes to like targeting. So when you say targeting, what does actually geo-targeting mean? Because I hear it all the time, but that's like going like down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, so you could target like anybody who visits this specific store, right? And in some cases, I've done that for competitors. So it's like if you are, you're selling widget A and your competitor sells widget B and you're across the street from each other and you have a sale that they don't, let's target all the people that have been to their location within the past 30, 60, 90 days, because you know that your consumer will repurchase that product or it's, something consumable, so that they have to repurchase every so many days. So let's target people that we know are shopping at your consumer's location and serve them ads so that they can get that.
Yeah, I know. I had FAS windows and doors come out, and now I'm being served ads by every window company in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Nice.
But the funny thing is because I'm in advertising, I like it. I'm like, okay, somebody's doing their job.
Yeah. A lot of that is intent to buy also, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, the internet's a scary place. It knows that you were searching for windows and doors or, in that general category. And so it produces these buying signals that are attached to you as an IP address, as a consumer. And you're able to really just pull your numbers in with everybody else's numbers that are like, hey, I'm interested in windows. And I mean, honestly, we live in Florida, so 90% of homeowners are within that. Right?
No, the worst though is when you accidentally click an ad that you don't want anything to do with, and you're like, no, I didn't mean to do that. So now you're being served all these ads for some
like flip flops or something that you're like, I don't need any more flip flops.
like baby onesies or something. You know what I mean? I'm like, no. I know one time there was like something happened with the algorithm on Facebook, and I got served like 24 ads for curling irons. like back to back. And I was like, so I started taking screenshots of them.
Wow.
I mean, your
It-
hair's pretty.
I didn't buy one, but it was just funny though, because I was like, what happened? Something's tweaked, something
Yeah.
went a little weird there. It didn't last for very long, but I was like cracking up. I was
That's
like,
so funny.
yeah.
Well, that's another reason why it's important to have an agency too, right? Because you get sometimes people run ads and they're wasting impressions, right?
Mhm.
So how many times did you get served the same ad, but you're actually not in the market for it,
a lot.
right? And nobody stopped that from happening. They probably just ran out of budget, and that's why you stopped getting ads, to be honest with you. Versus like somebody at an agency who is monitoring it, maybe not every single day, but
Right.
like often enough throughout the week that they're like, okay, well, this target's not really doing what we're wanting it to do. Let's adjust it
So
slightly.
you can actually see like if like, okay, so I'm being targeted these ads and they're not doing anything. Eventually, like if somebody's paying attention, they'll just say, okay, this is not a good one, or and then redirect it.
Yeah, I mean, and it may not be as specific as like, well, Angela is not clicking,
Right, right.
but
The
like
percentage
a
goes down or
percentage of the
something.
target that we're trying to reach, there's something off with it, and so then we can make fine tune adjustments.
Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. We are coming up on a break, but we have a few minutes. But what I wanted to talk about next was talk about messaging,
Mhm.
because I think that that's also another thing. You're talking about them stopping creative. So there's the visual part of the campaign, but then there's also the message.
Mhm.
So that I think that plays a key role in whether or not a campaign is successful or not.
Yeah.
And I do believe that a lot of these startup companies there's like some companies that have been in business for a long time that still don't
Oh, absolutely.
have it right. And you're just
Yeah.
like looking at I look at ads all the time. I'm like, what? How? Why is that there? All right. Well, we're going to go to break. And when we get back, we're going to talk about not only like the creative, but we're going to be talking about the messaging. So, all right. So stay tuned and we'll be back with more BaaD Radio.
Oh, you almost said my line. That's cool. Angela Marito hosting with co-host Melissa Jacob and Crystal Morris in the studio. I'm Melissa Fox, and this is BaaD Radio.
What song was that?
Really? George Harrison, What Is Life?
I don't know that one.
It's like swinging my feet. The chair was so high. I don't know who sat here before me.
I know it. Oh, okay. Can you ask him? Can you ask him just to chill out in the lobby?
Oh, who's next?
Derek Brantley.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's in BNI. He runs a company. It's like it's not massage, but it's
Neuromuscular.
Okay, that sounds cool.
Hang on, let me message him. That's probably him right there. Here, okay. I'm gonna say, okay, sit tight. Oh, hang on a second. Hey, Derek.
Ooh, sounds fun, doesn't it?
Downstairs, doesn't matter.
It's already in the office.
All right. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Where'd Melissa go? Oh, okay. Jeez.
She's hiding from you.
No, I thought she left the room.
No, she's here. I guess I didn't realize he had my cell phone number, but I guess I have his too.
So anyway, this is what happens behind the scenes. Guests show up a little bit early. Respect, however, for that. And then Melissa Jacob goes around and checks her machines, her cameras, and it's like, wow, I got a good shot there. Boy, am I good. And that's pretty much what happens. She checks the camera. She's like, I don't know what I did. I'm spot on. Anyway.
Pro.
Yeah, I know, right? So pro, but she throws it down every time. All right, stand by. Segment number 3 is in your face right now.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. No company is too small. ForgeITConsulting.com. And we are here talking with Crystal Morris, founder and CEO of Mindful Media Group. So we've talked about several different things right now, and before break, we were talking about the creative, and then I wanted to talk a little bit about the actual message. So in your experience, I meant like when do you think that more words or less words is better? Now, I'm talking mostly about social media right now, but I meant you've purchased everything from like we have what you call traditional media.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
what are some of the things that are considered traditional media?
Radio, TV, print, out of home.
Mhm.
So like your billboards, like buses.
You have to get closer a little bit.
Billboards, buses,
Direct
like I said,
mailers.
direct mailers. Those
Mhm.
types of things are traditional, and then most digital now is considered not traditional. Even though I think it's getting to this point where it's like
It's more common, probably.
it's aged enough that it's like traditional media now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I've done just you name it. Like I've hired street teams to flyer, high traffic areas. I've for guerrilla style marketing
Mhm.
events. I've hired a company that served tea outside of a high-end jewelry store in Manhattan
That's
during
cool.
the dead of winter to give people a hot cup
Oh,
of
that's
tea to
nice.
warm their hands and get their jewelry cleaned inside the store.
Oh, I love that.
Should have had like some brandy or some sort of liquor
Right.
or something.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed, but we talked about it.
She's like, I tried.
You want if you want vehicles wrapped in your brand, we can do that. I have a vendor that I utilize, and they do something called swarms. So you can have a fleet of cars wrapped in your branding, in your messaging, and say like there's a big concert or event, or
Mhm.
like the Orlando Magic's playing, and there's season ticket holders. It's a big game. They can literally just drive around Amway
Mhm.
and you'll see the brand
Oh,
making
wow.
like constant appearance. And the great thing about that type of advertising, or those wrapped vehicles, is that they tend to be Uber or Lyft drivers,
Right.
and so
Mhm.
they want to be in those high traffic areas anyway because that's how they
Mhm.
make their money.
Mhm.
So they're high mileage vehicles to begin with because they are Uber and Lyft. They're always driving around your geography.
It's like a moving billboard.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that like we're almost like blind to certain types of media, right?
Mhm.
Like you take your same route to and from work every day. You drop
Mhm.
off your kids the same way to school. Like you go to the same grocery stores. You sometimes don't even see like that
Mhm.
billboard that you drive by 10
Right.
times a day, right?
Right.
Because it's there. But you may pay attention to a car that's like wrapped in like a funky
Well, if they
wrap
cut
or
me off or
something.
something, I'm gonna pay really good attention to them.
Oh, no.
Not Lyft or Uber though. I know.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, you're totally right. If like
Yeah.
I were to walk out of an event and I saw like just
10 cars that were
cars,
just like
I would-
all lined up the same brand.
yeah, I would totally pay attention to whatever that message was.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause that's not a normal thing to see.
It's kind of cool though,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. So
So-
any type of media whatsoever is possible.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that I tell people as well is like some people think that are so hyper focused on digital.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when I say digital, I'm just talking about Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
I think that they think that
Yeah.
that is like
That's everything, the end all
yeah.
be all.
But it's
Mhm.
not, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of other digital places to advertise.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't even realize too is that there's like digital like TV content, right? So like for example, I have cable in my house, but it's
Mhm.
not like traditional cable. And I have people that laugh at me and they're like, "Why do you have cable?" And I was like, "I work in this industry. I need to have all the things,
Mhm.
right?" But it is actually what's considered connected TV. It's not like a traditional cable box. It
Okay.
is like digitally sent to my house instead. I'm trying to like think of
But it's
the
still like the same,
non-technical terms to like explain it.
like channel
Yeah,
type things.
still
Okay.
like all the same channels. It feels and interacts the same way. But as an agency, I know that I can go in and I can target very specifically to homes in a different way than you can with a traditional
Mhm.
cable buy for digitally connected cable
Right.
devices,
Mhm.
right? Or
Is it more complicated?
no, the targeting is exactly the same as like digital targeting,
Mhm.
right? But you get the benefit of like, oh, like these people like to watch CSI, or these people, for example, like they're award show junkies. Like people who are award show junkies love
Mhm.
like this type of content, right?
Mhm.
So the targeting is really cool with that as well.
So with the message that you were talking about earlier, so with digital marketing specifically, I know reels are really big.
Yeah.
And you see that trend of people putting captions on everything now. Like that used to not be a thing. And
Mhm.
now almost every video honestly, even me, like if it doesn't have captions, I'm like, next. Because sometimes it's on silent, my phone's on silent, my baby's sleeping next to me or something. And so I'm like, next, you know?
Yep.
So like versus, just still photos and things like that you can post on your business site and real type things where there's text. Like, do you see one way that's more prone to getting your message across?
More effective.
Yes.
So always captioning. It needs to be able to stand on its own without sound.
Yeah.
So if it can't stand on its own without sound for the exact reasons you mentioned, right? Like you're with your kid and they're sleeping, you're finally getting some time to just like decompress and scroll, right? If it doesn't have captioning and it's only sound, you're like, okay, next, move on, right? Same, like your doctor's office waiting room. You're not like blasting the sound, right? So it needs to stand on its own without sound. And then in terms of social, shorter content is always best, right?
I agree.
Like there's been a lot of conversation about, like TikTok has expanded the length of the videos, and some people love it because they love to fill all this additional content, and then other people are like, oh, just get on with it already. Like what? Like I don't want to watch a 3-minute video. I want to watch like 30 seconds or less, right? Like that's it. 30 seconds or less.
I think less.
Usually less. Like I always recommend like 15, 10. I've done campaigns that are 6 seconds before that are really, really successful just because it's like a quick hit.
Right.
And then the text that you're able to display with it is really the thing that gives them a little bit more information. And then like a really strong call to action button, right? Like buy now, learn more,
Save. Yeah, right.
like save, send a message, get a coupon, like all of those things. That's really, really important.
And making sure that business owners know that, because I know a lot of times I've worked with clients who they're like, I want to put all this text on, and you're like, if you put all that, they're not going to read any of it. You need to have little, like the bullet points, a couple that people can just see real fast. It's like the same thing with the length of the clip. Like, I know you want to share all of the things about your business, but let's just start here.
Right. And that's a good opportunity for like a series, right? So you first if you first introduce it with this message, and then a week or two later, depending upon how interaction's going, you rotate in a second message, and then you rotate in a third message. And the great thing about digital advertising now is that it's so easy to do A/B testing, and you can say like, all right, I'm going to run these two creatives at the same time, and let's see what resonates with people. And usually within a week or two, you could be like, all right, this one, nobody's clicking on it, or, very few people are clicking on it. But this one, everybody's interacting with it. I'm getting lots of comments. I'm selling product. And so you make that shift. And then it gives you the opportunity to test again more, right? So you're like, okay, this is winning. This is losing. Let's get rid of the loser. Let's keep running the winner. And let's see if we can make more winners.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I know, I can't believe we're coming to break again, but I really do want to talk about the difference between like a traditional ad agency and a direct response agency. And I think like I said, let's go ahead and just put out like well, if you were to say what is a direct response agency, what would you give that definition out as?
It is an agency that drives towards KPIs, so key performance indicators. So whether that is sales, calls, clicks, foot traffic, those are indicators of business performance. And so a direct response agency focuses on those KPIs.
And tracking that progress.
And traditional ones tend to set it and forget it.
Right. Look at all of these impressions I got you. Aren't you so happy? And
I've never
that's
been
only
impressed
half of
with
it.
impressions. I just haven't. Because I have a radio background.
Right.
And impressions don't mean anything to me in this. So that music means we're going to break. But when we get back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the direct response and mindful media group. So stay tuned.
You're listening to BaaD Radio. If you'd like more information on business at a distance, simply go to baadradio.com.
I gave her songs, but I like.
Problem is that one's only like 19 seconds, so I always have to tell you to wrap it up. Because, I don't know.
I hear Jack use that all the time. Jack Bradshaw?
Yeah, that's great. So we're using one that's over on Jack's. That's, yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, my God. Jack uses it. Everybody uses Under Pressure, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So
How about very redundant? Oh!
Jack has good taste in music. That's a little. What's that
Just
all
said,
about?
I know, right?
Someone's a little
Oh,
salty.
DJ
Oh, no,
rivalry.
I used to do the Real Radio weekends for years.
Oh,
Ah.
that used to be my favorite. Now it's like Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, they're not doing, but we did alternative like that song that you just heard. Kicks.
Exactly.
All right, stand by. It looks like segment number 4. So you might want to, talk about everything, wrap it up, put a nice bow on it.
Talk about everything.
Yep.
Got it.
All the things.
All right, stand by.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio,
Hold
brought
on.
to you by Premier Couple Superstore.
Something didn't start.
Just
It was me.
kidding.
Psych, we're not starting the show yet. It was all a joke. Go on back to your commercials. Just kidding.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Rainy season is here, so don't make the mistake of overwatering your lawn. Call Rick Hall with Ground Up Property Services about a water sensor. Too much water can be just as harmful as not enough. And while you're at it, ask about the irrigation system inspection, and don't forget about the lawn painting service. If you're planning an outdoor event and you want to hide those brown spots on the lawn, call 407-468-4295, or you can go to groundupinc.net. How come the lights just flickered?
I thought you sailed right past it. I
Right?
was like, she was in the zone.
I have no idea. Did it a couple times earlier to me, too. Ghost! Oh, no!
You're like a sensor or something.
I don't
right? You gotta
know.
like do this.
I don't
know. I'm
know.
glad
I was
they came
like,
back on now.
tornado? What's going on?
No.
We're talking with Crystal Morris, founder and CEO of Mindful Media Group. And before break, we were talking about the difference between a regular agency and a direct response agency. But first, let's back up a little bit and let's just say what an agency is and why
Oh, yeah.
people use an agency versus just placing local direct. So you sell it, girl. I know I'm the salesperson, but let's hear it.
All right. So the easiest way for me to describe an agency is basically we're a media broker.
Yes.
We have relationships with every radio station, every radio group in markets, TV stations, cable, newspapers, basically all advertising channels, all mediums. And in a lot of those cases, like we work with them a lot for our different clients. So if you're, you have your own business and you're like, you know what, I think I need to advertise and I want to be on radio and TV and billboards and I want to be on Facebook and I want to, like all of these things, you pie in the sky, right? You want to start everywhere, you want to be really big, but you have no connections. So the amount of time it's going to take you as a business owner to pull all of the connections necessary, then explain to them what you want, then work through all of the fluff that you get on top of, them giving you advertising options. The time is astronomical, right? And so because we have those relationships, we're already working with those people. It's really easy for me to just like pick up my phone and even text a radio rep and say, hey, I need 30-second rates for this day part and this day part, and I need them to run these 3 weeks, right? And they will text me back, usually within, a couple of minutes.
Heck
And
yeah,
so-
they will, because that's money to them.
Right. And so because they know they work with agencies and they understand that it's high volume, right? And so that's the other part too. Usually there is a rate card rate, and then
I'm
there's
familiar with rate card.
and then there's agency rate.
Uh-huh.
Right. Rate card is like the managers at a station will say, here's what we need for a 30-second commercial on this day part. Sellers, go sell it, right? And you're a Joe Schmo business and you're calling the radio station and you say, hey, I want to buy a commercial in your morning news. And they look at the rate card and they say, oh, the rate card says it's this, right? So that's what you're going to pay. But working with an agency, I go back and I say, well, I know that I'm getting a different rate for 3 other clients. So you're going to hold that rate for me, right? And they're like, yes, we will. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So there's benefit there as well. It's almost like shopping at Costco or like a BJ's, like a wholesale club, right? Like we buy in bulk. So we get discounts on that. And we pass that along to our clients.
I imagine also not only the savings that way, but you were mentioning all these different types of media. excuse me. But that also, like, business owners that might not know how advertising works, they'll say, "Oh, I see billboards, and I want to look huge, and so I'm going to put myself on a billboard." But that's not necessarily what's going to give them the best return. So you're able to like target the best way for them to make that.
Yeah.
It's funny because we have this conversation often, right? There's a vanity play here. There are certain industries where people love to see like themselves on billboards and on buses and on TV. They love to hear their own voice on the radio. And in some cases it makes sense. You're like, okay, I'm actually utilizing the service that the person is providing, right? So I want to see that person. I want to know who I'm going to be working with. But in a lot of cases, it's, where you want to see yourself doesn't necessarily make the most sense for your client. Just because you drive by that billboard 15 times a day, that doesn't mean that the majority of your clients are driving by that billboard 15 times a day. So it's that conversation that you have to have. All right, it's great that you're going to see it, but is your target audience going to see it?
Oh, right. I know. In radio, I had to deal with that all the time. Nobody listens to that radio station, and I'm like, oh, really? So, like, this 200,000 weekly listeners, nobody listens to it. But that client, they might not listen to it because it might be targeting women, 25, 54. And they're not a woman that's 25, 54. But if they don't listen to it, then nobody listens to it. And so, but I mean, that's an actual thought process, which is, I have dealt with that a lot. And like I said, the vanity thing is a big thing too, especially with like doctors and attorneys. Attorneys are the biggest one. That's why you see them on billboards all the time. And even if their picture's not up there, their name's up there. So those are like the classic ones. I've always wondered about billboard, like, because billboards sold, based off impressions, like how many people are driving by that.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the only billboard, and this still sticks in my head. I feel like billboards don't really sell too much. Nobody's going to like, oh, let me put that number down real fast or anything like that. But there was one that was just solid black, and it had like a nonsense word on it. And just that, I was like, what the?
So you went and looked it up?
So, of course, I Googled it. Yeah, that was the only billboard that I can think of. I'm in graphic design, so a lot of times I'll be driving by. I'm like, oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah.
They did a good job with that. But that's the only billboard that has ever, that I was like, oh, that was really smart.
Right. Was it a marketing company?
It was a marketing company.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Was it over in like Dr. Phillips area?
Oh, I don't remember that part.
I do kind of remember that too.
Yeah.
But I think billboards make a lot of sense if it's like right at a location. Is that where you kind of see that? You've bought billboards all the way up and down the coast, right?
The whole country, yeah. A billboard is great for branding. So if you have a case where you need people to remember your brand, be top of mind, billboards are great. Billboards are also great for events. So if you're like, oh, Food Truck Friday, right? Like here at this park, like arrows pointing, that's fantastic.
I know one of my clients is a fireworks guy at a Pyro Spot. He's actually going to be on next week.
Oh, fun.
But Sky King bought the freaking billboard that's in the parking lot that he sets up at. And I was like, that's just wrong.
Oh, that's
mean.
Smart of Sky King.
I know.
I was driving. This is
not really if you think about it, because it says, that person says, oh, there's a fireworks place.
And then
they may misconstrue it and think that they're Sky King.
Something similar to that. I was driving, and there was a billboard that was right by a dealership, and the billboard said something along the lines of like, for better cars, go like another mile. I was like, oh, that is shady.
Car dealers are a whole nother level.
No, they are. It's a whole different world with auto dealers. Another thing I want to talk about, because we are going to run out of time, is talk about how agencies get paid, because I think that that's something that people do not understand. But I also think that a lot of agencies now don't understand either, because, these new people are coming up. They open an agency. They're just charging a flat fee. Yeah. But, Crystal, tell them how we get paid.
Yeah. So we take a commission on media dollars spent, right? So, for example, you go to a radio station and, like, remember I was talking about rate card before, and they say, oh, it's $100 for you for that spot. Even if I paid $100 for that spot, it would still be $100 for you, right? So it's $100 for the client no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is that I take $15 of that, and then the $85 goes to the radio station. And so a lot of media companies have this deal already in place with advertising agencies where they give them an agency discount because of things like volume and ease of transactions, right? Because they know that I know that the commercials due a certain number of days before the schedule runs. They don't have to chase me down for it. They know I understand how that works. Whereas working directly with a client, they have to, like, a lot of times, like, hold hands, baby steps.
So, Crystal, go ahead and give all your contact information. And obviously, Crystal and I work together. So that's going to be me too. But please go ahead.
It's Crystal at mindfulmg.com. That's KRYSTAL at mindfulmg.com.
And thanks for being on here, because we're going to have lots of content now that we can put on our Facebook page. All right, everybody, stay tuned, because we got another hour of BaaD Radio coming up.
It was good to see you too. I was about to say you're going to be my favorite guest today. I already know. Hello. Good. How are you? Yep. Yep.
But they actually had like a legit like talking sorting hat there, like as a prop kind of thing. And when they did the thing like with Draco, like it went like just barely on my head, just like further in. But I was like, blonde hair.
No, but I know what you're talking about.
Gotcha. So we're going to do 4 10-minute segments. Yeah. When we start to get to the last of the 10 minutes, about 30 seconds, she turns. This is Melissa over here in the studio. She's our producer, so she will about 30 seconds, and then we kind of are going to go to break. Now we're not really going to break. It just sounds like we're going to go to break, so we'll do commercials. Yeah, and then we like take a breather, and then we hop back into it. On the last one though, because this is the last hour of the show, she'll start the music in an hour, or not an hour, an hour, 60 seconds.
Wow.
Like a minute out. So that will give you an opportunity to give all your contact information, and then I'll go from you to Melissa to myself, and then we have to wrap it up.
Imagine started an hour before.
I'll just keep it rolling. No worries.
The guy that was the environmentalist, he would have talked an hour on his contact. I was like, all righty.
Like, and the music means.
We got to set up his mic.
Excellent. This is WFLA Orlando, and so this is a 50,000 watt tower.
His mic.
This is a lot different than Florida Man Radio. It is.
Get yourself set up.
We're running early, folks. So yeah, this is a whole different ball game. We're moving up in the world.
That's good.
And you can adjust your volume and stuff here.
Cool.
That is pretty cool. All right, so you push this button here. I'm just messing.
Just FYI, Barb saw me both times that I went and got the guest.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, fuck.
But
me. Yeah.
she has to be nice to Crystal because Crystal's the owner of a media agency, and so she was very, very pleasant. And then I warmed her up a little bit because I said, Barb, guess what was in my memories? Remember Diagon Alley 9 years ago with your, selfie stick? So we
Remember how we go way back and you love me?
Oops. Okay.
But you know what? Just say that I did it on my own.
I didn't even know what. Yeah, that's good. I lost control of my guest. She'll like that.
No, just say
Even better.
Just say, listen, you know Angela. Angela does whatever she wants.
She ain't taking no for an answer.
Pretty
Says you
much.
know her.
I had to chase her down and tackle her once.
Shoo. Okay, all right. All right, stand by for segment starting now.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long. Bravo!
My compliments, little lady.
Commercial. Something didn't start again. Oh,
Dang it all.
It was a good warm-up, though, wasn't it?
Yep.
All right.
Do you like Fifth Element?
Yes, I was about to say that's
Yeah, it was.
Chris Tucker.
Okay, everything seems to be working now. It was my fault.
Do you want this pen?
You're listening to Radio
Okay, that
Cosmos.
was that Melissa's fault.
Sorry. I didn't know you were going in so fast.
Do
Helping our guest.
you need a pen? Is what she was asking. I
No.
think.
He got my
Are we
message.
good? All right. Are you ready to mess it up? No. Oh, look at you. She's a pro.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Welcome back as we launch into our second hour of BaaD Radio. I'm going to run through all of the regular info for those of you who just might have just joined us. I am Angela Smerito, your host, and we've got our producer Melissa Fox.
Hello.
Our co-host and videographer Melissa Jacob.
Hello.
And her business is called Striking Brand, and you can watch all of the previous episodes of BaaD Radio on baadradio.com, but you can also go to strikingbrand.com to see all of Melissa's videos and her photography. I'm excited to welcome our next guest. Please welcome Derek Brantley.
Hi, great to be here.
You got to pull that closer to you.
You're going to be
Sorry.
super close
Yeah.
to the mic. And have you been on BaaD Radio before?
I don't think I have.
No, he
What is
ran ads, but
okay.
Derek is an owner and a manual therapist with Imbalance Bodywork. So Derek and I met through BNI several. I mean, he was at the BaaD anniversary party, which was 2 years ago,
Oh,
and
nice.
that was a year after. So, like you said, it's been over 3 years since we first met. But he actually ran commercials on, I think it was The Wolf. I can't remember now. But I remember you telling me that somebody pulled over and wrote your information down. So
Yeah, that was great. She became a regular.
oh, that's awesome. I
Wow.
love stories like that. So, Derek, tell us what is Imbalance Bodywork.
Sure. Well, basically, I am a manual therapist. My background's in rehabilitation. So I went to massage school and graduated and went to rehab. And it was PTs, chiros, and acupuncturists. They told me the first day, this is not a spa. So it's more car accident cases, chronic pain people. So I was doing massage and it was helping, but I started taking like medical massage and all these other things and cupping and stretching, stuff like that, and it helped. And then I found a new technique out of Canada, actually. They came here, I took their class, and it's I started learning it, and people started getting better, and it was really time to go on my own and building a clinic, and that does something that no one's really doing. So like I really have more in common with a physical therapist than I do a massage therapist, but I don't really do either. I don't give exercises or anything like that. It's all soft tissue manipulation, but it's not quite massage. A
Okay.
little different.
So your best, well, you target like anybody that's got chronic pain. Is that really kind of the
Anything and everything. I mean, the most head to toe, really. The most common thing I see is back pain, neck pain. Just get them in the door. I treat plantar fasciitis, migraines, frozen shoulder, knee issues. I've had chronic pain people like MS, fibromyalgia, a lot of autoimmune cases. If I can't cure it, I can treat it. Just manage the symptoms. So I get people well, and sometimes I don't really need to see them again. So that's why I have to keep finding new clients because they keep getting better.
It's a good thing, though.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
He's
Like,
put himself
listen,
out of business.
You can leave me, but you have to leave me a review as well, please.
Right.
Yeah, people try to give me a tip like, no, just tell your friends. That's the most
Yeah.
valuable. Just a referral's better. Just keep your money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I think that that's valid. The one thing that because I'm getting up there in years now, is that do you see that a lot of people? Because I feel like my mobility, and I also will get headaches. And you mentioned migraines.
Yeah, migraines are more idiopathic. We don't know exactly what causes it. We do know that about 7 in 1 cases are women, so it affects women more. So there could be a hormonal
Also going
component.
through menopause too.
That and injuries, whiplash, diet, lack of sleep, stress, all those things combined together. So I've had some people that I never see them again, for migraines once I fix it. Other people more just chronic. They come back in, so often just to keep it under control.
What does idiopathic mean? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm using my big terms. Idiopathic, we don't know what causes it.
Okay.
So like we don't know. It's
A mystery.
Yeah.
So
like,
Scooby-Doo, mystery.
right.
Got
It's
it.
genetics, or sometimes we don't know why it's there or what causes it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get different kind of headaches though. I like the worst one is like the piercing one. I feel like I'm getting stabbed here, but when it comes with my muscles, that's when it gets the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
Not both of them suck. I'm not gonna
Gosh.
lie.
What about when you just sleep the wrong way?
Sure.
Like get a crick in your neck?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Can you
Yeah.
get that fixed one session type deal?
Usually, yeah. So that's called adaptive shortening. So if I'm in a position of shortening for a long period of time, so it's stuck like that. So you're sleeping in a car and it just gets stuck. You need to move it around. So I often use the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. You just need that oil, and you're stuck in one position for a long time, and you're
got
stuck.
it.
So that's usually how I explain arthritis to people.
Oh wow, I didn't even think about arthritis. So I'm curious about this technique. So you learned it from a company in Canada?
Yeah, they're actually in Alberta. They came to Florida. They had a Facebook ad, and I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And
So you felt like you're like, okay, I've learned this and this, but there's a missing piece there.
yeah, I've taken classes and driven home angry, like I wasted my money, and I took this class, and I was like, all I could think about, I need to take the next class. People started getting better. When I started doing this at the rehab center I was working at, and I said, hey, I have learned this new thing. I can try it out. And after about 3 months, the front desk set me down like, we have a problem. You're booked. I'm like, great. It's like, no, people are canceling their appointments when you're not here. They only ask for you because I was doing something different. I had a lady recently fly from Miami to get frozen shoulder treated. She's getting better and just nowhere else to go. She comes to me. So I'm trying to at least build a clinic in Central Florida so people have somewhere to go.
So right now, are you mobile?
I have an office in Lake Mary. I rent out of a suite.
Okay.
So just staying by myself as long as I can. So when I hire someone, I can keep them busy and eventually just expand from there.
Do you think that you'll hire like an admin kind of thing? Or are you talking about bringing on another therapist?
A therapist like me,
Okay.
The nice thing with technology, it's online booking. I can, it's a lot easier to
True.
run my business.
True.
I can really run my business through my phone. It's kind of neat. So, it's nice to live in an age of technology. But,
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to bring Nasir's name up again because he was talking about, do you know Nasir?
Yes, he's in my networking group.
Okay. He was on the show not too long ago, and he was talking about like the systems that he puts together as far as the booking the appointments and setting the reminders. And you're very right. There's so much that you can do that's automated, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I get confident on that. You want to make it as easy as possible for someone to do business with you. I get confident. I have 90-year-olds who will book online and they'll use their, send me text emojis and stuff.
Oh yeah,
and
that makes sense. Yeah, specifically for like body pains and stuff, you got to be cognizant of that. Like make it super easy for the older people. Yeah.
But do you do
smart.
any traveling at all, or they have to come to you? Which
it's-
is fine. Like
it's
I said, it's
easier.
yeah.
I started my business out of the back of my car, so it was lugging my table around to people's houses. That's for some
That's
people.
when I knew you. That's
Not
like
for
I
me.
said. That's when we first met. That's what you were doing.
Humble beginnings. So it's, but it was a good start. I have an office now, so I'll travel if I get hired by the Yankees or something. So
Right.
if they can pay me. I'll travel. They can fly me to New York.
Well, what I've come to find out too is a lot of these groups, like the major, if they'll hire somebody in house usually, but if they don't, they'll get the service for free because that chiropractor or that massage therapist wants to be able to say, hey, I treat the
whatever.
the Orlando Predators or whatever, and I'm like, man, can't be giving away your stuff for free
And not much. A whole team. Good gracious.
They do though.
Yeah.
That's a thing. I was kind of shocked about that. So what is the biggest difference between like what your system is versus like a massage therapist?
Yeah, it's the biggest challenge I have is people say, I don't know how to talk about you. Like, I don't know what he does. Just call him. He'll
He
fix it.
fixes things.
Yeah, so when you get a massage, you feel great, and the pain comes back after a day or two or a week, and you're releasing endorphins. And I love massages. They feel great. Go get one. What I do is I get the nervous system to release substance P, so it just has healing properties. The highest concentration of pain receptors is actually on the outer layer bone. If you're just targeting tissue, you're only really getting about 10, maybe 15%. So it's when people say I like deep tissue, like great, how deep do you go? Like the bone, like literally to the bone.
Owie.
It's sensitive, but it feels better. And after, I desensitize the nervous system. I tell people that their pain level is the volume's a 9. I got to turn it back down to like a 2 or a 3.
I have a question.
Yes.
I had I know this is not what you do, but
That's okay.
I think because you are in this realm, you'll maybe be able to tell me what happened. I went and got a deep tissue massage one time and was thinking the whole time it hurt so bad. I was like stuck my tongue between my teeth to like keep myself from gritting my teeth because it hurt so bad. And in my head, I did tell her to lighten up. She did not. And then I just grinned and bear it type thing. In my head, I was thinking, this is one of those situations that people say, oh, it hurts now, but like afterwards, you'll feel good. That didn't happen. No. I was very hurt. What do you think happened?
Well, with that, it's with
you know what? That's going to be a
tissue.
cliffhanger.
Oh.
Because we're actually going to go to break because I've had something like that happen to me before too, where I got a deep tissue thing and
it's like I shouldn't have even come in. I'm
my
hurting
ever-loving
more.
butt. But anyway, we're going to listen to what Derek has to say, what happened with that when we get back from break. So stay tuned.
Sounds like horror stories. This is BaaD Radio. Go to BaaDradio.com for more information.
Kind of melt the tissue like a lot of.
You got to save that for on the radio.
Oh yeah. They just press really hard, but it's not really what you press on, but how you press on it. That's why like with my teacher says just bone. So like with traditional deep tissue, it's broad to specific, superficial to deep. But even then, you're targeting muscle. So like it's just different.
I definitely want to talk about that because I had the same type of experience and it was just horrible.
I know.
Actually, you're the first person that I let touch me after that.
After that?
Yeah. You did something with my shoulder. But I mean, I was 24 and it was a nightmare and after that, anytime somebody put their hands on my shoulders other than my husband, I would be like, don't, you know what I mean? I'm like, don't touch me.
Sure, I got you.
But no, you're in my office. I remember you're like, just relax. Just all right, we're going to hop back on.
Oh, already? Oh, I thought it was like a 10-minute break.
No, no.
Oh, okay.
I can't hear you.
Okay, you're gonna have to be louder.
It's this one.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Better?
take this. Yeah, you're. I need to hear your voice more.
Soft spoken to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's not a. I
All
should
right.
bring one of these to my BNI group. This would really help.
That is that good? That's better. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, segment number 2 or 6, depending on how you're looking at it, lifting off now.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Rachel Roach Realtor, a Coldwell Banker Realtor. With a sea of realtors out there, choose the one that thinks about you first and not their commission. 407-252-4566. And we were talking with Derek Brantley, owner and manual therapist with Imbalance Body Work. And before the break, Melissa told a story that something very similar happened to me where I was younger. I was getting a massage. They went way too deep, and I felt afterwards, I felt beat up. I felt like I worked out too hard, and I felt very sick. So what happened to us?
Well, sure. It's a lot of people that don't have the proper training. They just press really hard. It's not really how hard you press, but how you press. Traditional, if you're doing deep tissue, they do broad to specific, superficial deep, and so they kind of melt the tissue instead of just. But even then, you're just targeting muscle. Muscle only has about 10 to 15% of the nerve endings for sensitivity that the outer layer of bone does. So what I do is I'm actually getting on the bone itself. And it's people get bruised because you have what's called avascular. So it gets the blood vessels are directly on that tissue.
I can't hear you again. Sorry. It's okay.
Yeah. So it's basically I rarely bruise people because the bone gets its blood from surrounding tissue. So they feel like they're bruised, but they don't bruise. So that's, they just press too hard without much training. You don't just, you have to slowly work into it, not just jab your elbow in somebody's back.
Got you.
That's pretty much what happened.
That's what I was saying.
Did you feel sick afterwards?
I didn't feel sick, but I definitely felt like I needed a massage.
So will people come to you and ask you questions like that? Can you go I like it really, really deep, and you're like, yeah, and I don't do that. Tell me what the symptoms are, and then we'll go to, you know what I mean? Then we'll come to a conclusion.
It's different. I mean, it's people call me and they say, "Hi, Dr. Brantley." I'm like, I'm not a doctor, but thanks. You know, they consider me more of like a PT kind of ortho type than a massage that's separate myself. And I was really careful when I started my business to design my office, my uniform, my name, like not a spa. Like I love spas, that's not me.
Right.
So it's just they come in for treatment. It's like I don't tell my dentist how to clean my teeth, you know, so they don't tell me. They tell me what hurts and I fix it. So
but I mean, what I'm hearing is that it's not so much. This is pain management.
In a sense, I mean, when people say pain management, they'll think of injections and you know surgeries and things like that. So and it has its place, but you know, I get them more pain resolution. I say I'm like,
ooh, I like that pain resolution.
Right. I'm not just here to treat your symptom. I'm here to actually get rid of the problem.
And again, that's what you said, that you get rid of the problem, and then that's why you continuously have to get new clients. Is your system something that people can take home? Because sometimes I've known that people are like, okay, take this ball or take this, and then you do these rolling type of exercises. Do you give people
like physical therapy
homework?
type things?
I do. I have tennis balls if it's pelvic floor work. A lot of people get issues with pelvic floor. I tell them heat and movement, so we can kind of getting away from the icing model. Ice was really popular in the 70s, so it's ice everything. But even the person who created the rice method kind of doubled back and kind of co-authored a book. It's like, hey, sorry, I was wrong. So heat.
That takes a lot for them to say something like that, to come out.
Why? What's different?
Well, basically, it's you need the inflammation response. It just needs to get flushed out. So ice delays the inflammation response. It treats pain, but it slows the healing process. We all have that injury that you roll your ankle and 7 years later it still aches. You know, that old injury, even though it heals. So what I do is kind of reset. The technique is called rapid neurofascial reset. So it's basically like resetting the nervous system. So I tell people it's like I'm going in your fuse box in your garage and I'm flipping switches and you have live wires. I got to fix that. And it's basically your nervous system.
Damn, that's fascinating. I think about my son, because my son's a pitcher. He's 16 years old. And I mean, they throw hard at that age.
I have a lot of kids. Actually, a lot of local baseball teams, pitchers will come in and see me just to prevent the Tommy John surgery. So there's a ligament in your elbow. They overextend.
Oh, I know what it is. We
Yeah.
like I said, we haven't gotten there, and I don't want to.
Yeah, they come to me for. I have a couple of kids in college that are, if they go pro, they're my ticket to Yankees.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's great because there back in the day it'd be like, okay, when he gets done throwing, the first thing that they told us to do is ice it, but now they're saying don't do that, and that coincides with what you were just saying about how that delays the healing process. Is that what it is?
It does. I mean, you need like in a lot of pro sports, particularly baseball, if a pitcher gets injured, they immediately start physical therapy and use heat.
Mm-hmm.
So heat. Oh, I'm excited about this because I get cold if it's colder than like 70.
I know.
So
That's
I
why
don't put ice on anything. I'm like, I refuse.
I'm the same way though, but like you see in
Oh.
here, it's like
Yeah.
first half I've got my tank top, and then I'm like, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Sweater time.
I tap
It's
out.
sweater weather. No, that is interesting, and I'm gonna actually talk to my husband about that as well because
Mhm.
we worry about Aiden's arm. I mean, he's 16 years old. He's throwing 87 miles per hour.
Impressive.
But I meant we've known people that their sons had to take a year off because of the Tommy John.
So do you do that as like a preventative thing? Like, could he start that like before stuff happens?
I have 12-year-olds that come see me, so like they'll make sure not to. The main thing, don't throw breaking balls until you're in college. Your growth plates are still open because the way they throw it, like a sinker or maybe a slider, the way they overextend their arm, just the way the pitch is thrown, so it's a repetitive strain injury, and they end up pulling that ligament in their elbow when their career is over. So.
Yeah, it's. I hate to say it, but it is fairly common with pitchers.
My brother's a pitcher too.
They keep their pitch count down though.
Yeah.
So
Just swapping them out, you mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
3 or 4 innings, that's it.
That's
And
right.
Yeah, at 16. Now, when they were younger, there was even less. But
Right.
Aiden will throw off-speed pitches. I mean, he throws a knuckleball, throws a slider, fastball.
you shouldn't be throwing that young.
Maybe not a slider. I don't know. He's 16.
Doesn't he have to do that stuff for like
He plays travel ball, and then he, you know what I mean?
I mean for people to pick him up for college and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
thing. I mean, post all that stuff. Anyway, I
Sorry.
think that it's fascinating that that's something that you do. So you see a lot of them. What are some of the other sports? So I keep in my head, so I'm thinking auto accidents, sports related sort of stuff. So not don't wait till you get hurt. Not an auto accident, but for like athletes, right?
Yeah, my top 4 that I've noticed that people, I've had people drive or fly to come see me, and I've had people complain about driving 15 minutes. Like, what's the difference in value? So the top 4 I've noticed are manual labor workers. You know,
Okay.
their livelihood depends on their back. They can't work. Athletes, they need that scholarship, or they're operating at 100% at all times. The holistic minded folks, the ones that prefer to see the acupuncturist or the naturopath, homeopath before going to a Western med, and the chronic pain. So like I have on my website, there's a young lady did a testimony for me. She has a lot of autoimmune conditions. The immune system is attacking the body, and I can't cure her issue, but I can treat her symptoms and keep her pain at 2. So I said, you can live with a 2. A 2 is a dull ache. It's there. It's not a 9. There's a big difference between a 9 or a 2 on the pain scale.
No, that makes total sense. I was thinking about, like, it's so funny as he's talking to me, I'm like, oh, I should introduce you to this person.
Yes.
I should introduce you to this person.
It's like roofer.
No, it wasn't
Yeah.
roofer.
I knew
Contender roofing. Because did you go to the BNI networking after hours thing that was a couple Thursdays ago?
You mean the
Is that Outpost? I think it was.
I haven't seen that one at the round table. You mean?
No, it was like I don't know. It was like an after hours thing. But I sat with one of a gentleman that's one of the owners of Contender Roofing, and he had just been in an auto accident.
Oh, two
I know.
things at once.
Double whammy.
Yeah.
We're selling Anna's selling him some CBD.
Oh, there you go.
I had a BNI client. I visited his chapter, and he does construction. He had a ski accident where he not only did he break his tailbone, but he had that compression fracture. He shattered one of his vertebrae, and they had to do pins and screws. And he showed me the picture. I was like, "This is a burst fracture. Like, this is a medical emergency. You have bone fragments that can damage nerves." And he's better, so he's gonna have the rod and everything in there, but he's on a ladder and he can use his drill and whatnot. So people like that I can work on.
Yeah.
I can look at someone's X-ray and think to myself, oh wow, that's pretty involved. But I say out loud like I can help you out.
I've cracked my tailbone before. It's excruciating.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No, I had to carry one of those hemorrhoid donuts around with me in
Oh,
junior high
fun.
school too.
Yeah.
It was so embarrassing.
Just even thinking about everything scrunching up. I'm like, no.
It was so painful, but I fell out
No.
of a tree and landed on my behind, and
Ow.
I cracked it right up the center.
Oh, fun.
It was awful. All right, so I got lost track. Melissa, how are we on time? Oh,
All right.
there you go.
Perfect timing.
All right, well, we're here with Derek Brantley, and when we get back, we're going to talk more about imbalanced bodywork. So stay tuned.
You're listening to BaaD Radio. We do this for you. Well, I'm not really sure why we do. No, it's about networking. I was just kidding. We'll be right back with BaaD Radio on News Radio, WFLA Orlando.
I know. I've
Love
good-
the 80s new wave stuff.
That is me. That is. I gave her my songs. I said these are the songs that I like. I did send her my whole Spotify list, but then I was like, okay, that's too much. I was like, I'm like, let's just focus on these. Let's see what this is here. Ha. What is today? What are some of the things you would like to talk about?
Well, I think we covered. I mean, the kind of people that I treat and what it is, how it's different. I think just how I treat would be good because people think it's.
You want to walk through a scenario?
Yeah, just
Okay.
like if someone says, what exactly do you do? I mean, what's a session like, really? I tell people, like, I don't use sheets, there's no lotion, you wear clothes, like, just what you're wearing is exactly what I treat over. So it's,
Okay. Yeah, so you don't have to like strip down. You can
it makes people that otherwise would be uncomfortable. Just you wear clothes. Like some people come in the office, they start undressing.
You're like, whoop, zip that up.
Yeah, please.
All right, whenever you're ready. Oh, that's right. Melissa's got to do her thing. Okie dokie. Headphones on, microphones in place. Perfect. Segment number 3. Here we go. Melissa, when you're ready. Yep. Here.
You can go.
No.
I'm-
No.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. We're talking with Derek Brantley, owner and manual therapist with Imbalanced Bodywork. And so during break, I was kind of like, okay, so what are some of the things that you want to talk about? And so what we really want to focus on right now is the process. So we were talking about doing like a scenario. So, okay, so I get a referral. I'm complaining about my back hurting, and my friend Melissa says, hey, you should call Derek. So let's walk through how that works. I call you up, and then I come in. And how do you just have like a start with a consultation?
Sure. I mean, there's a one-page intake form. Usually people book online, so they can do the whole thing there. A lot of people, they print it at home, come in, and you wear gym clothes. There's no disrobing, no lotion, none of that. You just dress like you're going to the gym, you know, and it's.
But there's not a consultation first, and then you get treated. You get treated the first time you come in.
Right. I get asked that a lot, too, because some people have to pay for a consultation just to have someone you have to pay for someone just to look at you or talk to you. I'm not. You might spend the first 10 minutes just, hey, I need to know your history. There's a couple of major things you need to know. Do you have hardware in your body? Do you have a pacemaker?
Or like you said before, somebody had an injury and they had like bone fragments and stuff. Those are pretty important things for you to know before you start pushing around, right?
Yeah, they'll call me like, hey, I just had a knee replacement yesterday. Like, awesome, I'll see you in 8 weeks. I don't know why you're calling me now. Like, do your PT. I'll see you after. But, that's just the major things. And you get treatment that day. And most people, it's like 3 to 8 sessions. So it's like a dig and drag, techniques over bones. So it's like I tell people I imagine just looking at a skeleton when I work on someone. I don't imagine tissue. I don't care about that. Just bones. Just find something and find. We call them blisters in the body. Just that hot spot. So it's just kind of like a live wire in your fuse box. Just got to turn off those pain receptors. And most people, it's 3 to 8 sessions, and I get them well. And then as needed. So I tell people your body's like a car; it needs an oil change from time to time, depending on how often you use it. When you hit that 5,000 mile mark, come back in. I'll see you again. And
But lots of times people start feeling relief like after the first two or
usually, if someone comes in with a 9 pain and I can get them down to a 6 in one session, like that's good.
Oh, they're
especially
going to be like in love with you because that's huge.
for chronic. I mean, I have people, your parents' age. I'm treating high school injuries. Like these are things that are been going on for quite some time. So it's just intensity, frequency, and duration. How long you've had these issues, how bad your flare-ups are, how long they last. Depends on the person. Some people are one and done. I think they didn't like it. And it's like, no. I said you fix them in one session. And then other people, it might take a little longer. It just depends on the issue.
I wish I would have known you. Like when my husband, when Anna was 2, she's 18 now, but she was 2. So we had a toddler, and I was fully pregnant with Aiden. So it was huge. And Tom, he didn't have an accident, but all of a sudden his back, his upper neck started hurting, and he went and got x-rays, and he had like, what are they called?
Torticollis?
What are they, the plates or whatever? He had 4 slip discs.
Hernia?
Or something disc.
Herniated disc, bulging disc.
Yeah. And he was in so much pain that and trying to figure out what to do without, we didn't want him to have surgery. Because like I said, I was about to have a kid, and we had a toddler, and it was so much work.
That's a lot.
And then he got prescribed medications, and then acupuncture, all these different things that didn't work. And the only thing that I have a feeling that you probably would have been able to. Do you work with people with that type of issue as well, like the herniated disc?
Sure, it's a very very common issue, and it's one of those things. It's if someone gets an MRI or an X-ray, they think that, oh my gosh, I have a herniated disc. Most people have one. They're asymptomatic. I probably have one, but that doesn't mean pain. Doesn't mean dysfunction. Dysfunction doesn't mean pain. Like there's just because you have a diagnosis doesn't mean a lot of people are asymptomatic, and it's fine. People come in like this morning I talked about people who Dr. Google themselves. That's always fun. Like I have this. Like no, you don't.
Oh my God, that's the worst though. I'm dying because if I Dr. Googled myself, I would
for 5 minutes